When we think of effort, we often imagine it as a linear equation: more work equals more results. We convince ourselves that our bodies are engines designed to accelerate without pause, that our minds are reservoirs of infinite focus. Yet the science of human physiology tells a different story. Our muscles, our heart, our brain, they all operate on intricate rhythms honed over millions of years of evolution, rhythms that are sensitive to both subtle and intense disturbances. To ignore these natural cadences is to invite imbalance, frustration, and sometimes injury, even when we believe we are simply trying harder. The human body is not a machine built for infinite acceleration. It is an ecosystem of interdependent systems, each with its own timing and threshold. Hormones rise and fall in cycles, neurons fire in patterns that require recovery, and organs perform their most critical functions when conditions are optimal, not under constant strain. When we push past these boundaries without awareness, the results are rarely linear. A workout that is intended to strengthen muscles may instead create microscopic tears that take longer to repair. Hours of unbroken mental focus may instead lead to cognitive fatigue, decreasing clarity and efficiency. Trying harder in such conditions often feels like swimming against an invisible current, where every stroke requires disproportionate effort, and progress slows rather than accelerates. Consider stress, the body's ancient alarm system designed to protect rather than propel. When we overexert, whether physically or mentally, the body releases cortisol and adrenaline. These chemicals prepare us for immediate action by heightening alertness, redirecting blood flow, and temporarily suppressing non-essential processes like digestion and immune function. In small doses and short bursts, this response is adaptive. It allows humans to survive threats and rise to challenges. But when effort becomes relentless, the same mechanisms that were once protective turn counterproductive. The heart may race unnecessarily, muscles tighten beyond functional levels, and mental clarity diminishes as the brain shifts into survival mode rather than problem-solving mode. The result is not increased performance but a strain on the very systems we rely upon. Pushing harder without recognizing these signals is akin to pressing the gas pedal while the engine is overheating. It might move you forward briefly, but at the expense of long-term function and health. Even at the cellular level, our bodies communicate through complex signaling that requires balance and timing. Muscle fibers, for instance, respond to stress not by growing immediately but through cycles of micro-damage followed by repair. Sleep and rest are essential components of this process because growth hormones surge during specific phases of deep rest. Without respecting these cycles, the body cannot optimize adaptation. Similarly, the brain strengthens neural connections through repetition, but only if periods of consolidation and rest are incorporated. Trying harder without allowing these natural processes to occur leads to diminishing returns, where effort increases but results plateau or even regress. It is a humbling reminder that the body is not a simple sum of actions but a dynamic network operating within precise boundaries. Our instinct to push harder often arises from a desire for control, a belief that sheer willpower can bend biology to our aims. Yet the science of human physiology suggests a more nuanced approach. Listening to subtle signs, muscle soreness, mental fatigue, variations in heart rate, or even mood fluctuations, provides insight into when effort is productive and when it becomes counterproductive. By attuning to these rhythms, we work with the body rather than against it, achieving more with less wasted energy, fewer injuries, and greater overall resilience. The paradox is profound. The most effective progress often comes not from pushing harder, but from pushing smarter, guided by an intimate understanding of our biological limits. When we think about improvement, the image that often comes to mind is one of relentless repetition. The athlete running mile after mile, the student poring over pages late into the night, the musician practicing scales endlessly. The intuitive assumption is that sheer effort alone will accelerate progress, that trying harder and longer inevitably translates into mastery. Yet decades of research in neuroscience and human performance reveal a different truth. The process of learning is not a continuous march of effort but a cyclical rhythm of action and pause, practice and reflection. Our brains do not simply absorb repetition. They consolidate experience, strengthen connections, and reorganize neural pathways during periods of rest. Attempting to shortcut this process by endless effort may feel productive, yet it often undermines the very adaptation we hope to cultivate. Consider the way memory and skill formation occur at a cellular level. Every time we practice a new movement or internalize a concept, our neurons fire in coordinated patterns. These patterns create temporary connections, but permanent learning depends on periods of consolidation. During sleep, especially deep and REM sleep, the brain replays experiences, strengthens synaptic connections, and prunes unnecessary signals. This internal rehearsal allows the brain to extract patterns, optimize strategies, and integrate new skills with existing knowledge. Without adequate rest, repetition alone cannot embed mastery. The same hours of effort that are intended to build skill may instead result in fatigue, diminished focus, and slower long-term progress. The principle extends beyond sleep into daily cycles of engagement and reflection. Studies in motor learning show that alternating short, focused bouts of practice with rest periods enhances skill retention far more effectively than continuous, unbroken effort. Muscles require recovery not only to repair but to integrate fine motor adjustments and optimize coordination. Similarly, cognitive tasks benefit from intervals of detachment, where the mind unconsciously consolidates insights, identifies errors, and prepares for more effective engagement. Trying harder without these intervals often creates a plateau. Effort increases, yet results stagnate, leaving frustration in its wake. This understanding has profound implications for how we approach growth in any domain, whether physical, intellectual, or creative. Mastery is rarely the product of relentless force, it emerges from a dialogue between effort and pause. When we respect the natural cadence of learning, we cultivate efficiency rather than exhaustion. Reflection becomes not an optional luxury but a critical component of performance, allowing us to recognize patterns, correct errors, and integrate lessons in a sustainable manner. The paradox is subtle but powerful. Less brute effort, applied with intelligence and timing, often produces more meaningful, lasting improvement than the most determined but unfocused push. Furthermore, this rhythm of practice and pause aligns with broader patterns of human biology. Our attention spans, energy cycles, and even emotional regulation fluctuate throughout the day, reflecting underlying hormonal and neurological processes. Ignoring these fluctuations in pursuit of continuous effort undermines both performance and well-being. By attuning to natural peaks of focus and energy, and integrating deliberate periods of rest, we not only accelerate learning but preserve the integrity of the mind and body. This approach requires patience and trust in the body's capacity to adapt, yet it honors the deep intelligence inherent in our physiology. Ultimately, the lesson extends beyond skill acquisition into the way we approach life itself. Our tendency to equate effort with progress is deeply ingrained, yet science reminds us that growth is often invisible, occurring in the quiet intervals between action. Reflection, rest, and mindful engagement amplify the effects of our efforts, transforming repeated practice into true mastery. The challenge, then, is not simply to try harder but to try smarter, to recognize that the rhythm of human development is a delicate interplay of exertion and recuperation, and that by honoring this rhythm we open the door to deeper, more sustainable growth. The human body is not merely a collection of parts working in isolation, it is a conversation, a continuous dialogue between tissues, organs, and the mind. Every heartbeat, every breath, every flicker of neural activity carries messages that inform how the body adapts, recovers, and performs. When we push ourselves relentlessly, ignoring subtle signals of strain or fatigue, we disrupt this intricate communication network. The consequences are not always immediate, yet over time, the cumulative effect of ignoring internal cues can ripple through the body, impairing performance, dampening resilience, and eroding well-being. The nervous system, for instance, is constantly interpreting sensory input, modulating stress responses, and balancing sympathetic and parasympathetic activity. When we overexert, the sympathetic nervous system, the branch responsible for fight or flight, dominates, releasing cortisol, adrenaline, and other stress hormones in ways that, if sustained, become detrimental rather than adaptive. Muscles tighten, digestion slows, sleep quality diminishes, and mental clarity declines, creating a feedback loop where effort feels harder, focus wavers, and motivation falters. At the cellular level, this disruption becomes even more apparent. Overexertion triggers inflammation, a natural response to microdamage and stress, which in controlled amounts facilitates repair. Yet when effort is unrelenting, inflammatory signals persist longer than necessary, interfering with tissue repair and cellular communication. The immune system, designed to defend and maintain balance, can be compromised, leaving the body vulnerable to illness. Even seemingly minor overreaches, Working late into the night, pushing through soreness in a workout, or ignoring mental fatigue, accumulate, signaling to the brain that the environment is consistently threatening, prompting protective responses that suppress growth and adaptation. The very systems meant to support resilience become taxed, producing diminishing returns despite increased effort. Equally profound is the effect on the mind. Cognitive performance, emotional regulation, and memory formation are intimately tied to physiological balance. Overexertion and chronic stress impair prefrontal cortex function, the region responsible for decision-making, attention, and self-regulation. Neurotransmitter balance shifts, affecting mood, focus, and the ability to process complex information. The experience of trying harder often becomes paradoxical. We believe that sheer force will achieve progress, yet the mind becomes less capable of strategic thinking, creativity, and insight. The body-mind dialogue, which thrives on subtlety and timing, is drowned out by the loud signals of strain. Listening to internal signals, then, is not a matter of indulgence but of efficiency. Small changes, a pause in a workout, a mindful breath, noticing tension in the shoulders, acknowledging mental fatigue, allow the body and mind to recalibrate. Heart rate variability, sleep quality, and subtle shifts in mood or focus are all messages about internal state. When we respect these cues, we align effort with capacity, fostering adaptation rather than triggering defensive responses. The paradox of human performance is that maximum output often arises from harmony rather than force. By pushing less and observing more, by integrating reflection and rest, we allow the body's natural intelligence to guide growth and maintain balance. This understanding reshapes how we think about success, productivity, and well-being. It asks us to redefine progress not as the accumulation of effort alone but as the alignment of effort with the body's internal wisdom. Each system, from muscles to neurons, communicates in a rhythm that supports adaptation, and ignoring these rhythms is an invitation to imbalance. True resilience emerges not from relentless exertion but from a partnership with the body, a careful listening, a respectful dialogue, and a willingness to respond with nuance rather than force. By recognizing that overexertion disrupts this communication, we open the door to a more sustainable, intelligent approach to growth, where energy is applied purposefully and health is preserved. If we step back and consider the arc of human history, it becomes clear that our bodies were never designed for relentless intensity. Evolution did not reward constant exertion or uninterrupted effort. It favored efficiency, adaptability, and the ability to conserve energy for the moments that truly demanded action. Our ancestors survived not by running endlessly, lifting continuously, or forcing themselves beyond natural limits, but by moving with purpose, pacing their efforts according to the rhythms of the environment, and responding strategically to challenges as they arose. Hunting, gathering, or even navigating complex social structures required bursts of energy interspersed with periods of rest, observation, and planning. The human body, finely tuned over millennia, retains these patterns. When we push relentlessly in modern life, whether in physical training, work, or personal development, we are often ignoring the strategies that evolution itself has embedded within us, assuming that effort alone will accelerate outcomes when, in fact, efficiency and timing are more powerful allies than intensity alone. Consider the cardiovascular system. Our hearts are capable of remarkable performance, yet they thrive when exertion is balanced with recovery. Ancient humans would alternate between rest, low-intensity movement, and sudden bursts of high-intensity effort, allowing the cardiovascular system to strengthen while avoiding chronic strain. Modern training regimens that ignore this principle often produce fatigue, injury, or hormonal imbalances because they disregard the way the body was designed to respond to stress. Muscles, too, follow this rhythm. Strength and endurance emerge not simply from continuous exertion but from cycles of tension and release, stimulus and repair. Overloading muscles without adequate recovery disrupts metabolic efficiency, depletes energy reserves, and impedes adaptation. The body's most profound improvements occur when effort is strategically applied, aligned with natural cycles of energy availability, repair, and growth. This evolutionary perspective extends beyond physical exertion into cognitive and emotional performance. The brain operates on cycles of focus and rest that echo the adaptive strategies of our ancestors. Intense concentration followed by periods of reflection allows neural networks to reorganize, assimilate new information, and optimize decision-making. Attempting to think harder or work Longer without these cycles activates stress responses that compromise memory, creativity, and emotional regulation. Efficiency is not laziness, it is the intelligence of working in harmony with the brain's natural patterns. The principle is the same whether we are lifting a weight, solving a problem, or creating art. Strategic engagement produces more meaningful results than unrelenting effort. Even at a behavioral level, evolution teaches the value of pacing. Humans excel when energy is allocated thoughtfully across activities, when periods of high output are balanced with intentional downtime, and when goals are approached with awareness rather than brute force. This strategic pacing allows for sustained progress without overwhelming the body's adaptive systems. It also cultivates resilience. By respecting natural limits, we maintain physiological balance, protect against burnout, and create space for reflection, creativity, and subtle growth that cannot occur under constant strain. Ultimately, the lesson is clear. Our bodies are ancient instruments of remarkable design, honed to respond to cycles, not continuous pressure. Trying harder may feel compelling, but it often conflicts with the biological intelligence embedded in us through evolution. Efficiency, rhythm, and strategic pacing amplify results in ways that relentless intensity cannot. By aligning our effort with the body's natural strategies, we honor both our evolutionary heritage and our present potential, creating a path toward growth that is sustainable, intelligent, and profoundly human. Growth is often imagined as a linear path, a straight line drawn from effort to achievement, as if success were merely the sum of hours spent pushing harder. Yet both science and human experience suggest a more subtle truth. Progress, whether physical, mental, or emotional, emerges not from relentless effort alone but from mindful engagement with the processes of life. Mindfulness, in this sense, is not a mere philosophical abstraction, it is the practical art of paying attention to the body, the mind, and the environment, of noticing patterns, sensing limits, and responding intelligently rather than impulsively. When we cultivate awareness of our internal state, we become able to distinguish between productive effort and wasted exertion. This capacity allows us to move with intention, to direct energy where it is most effective, and to avoid the trap of effort that serves no purpose beyond proving our own willpower. From a physiological perspective, mindful engagement allows us to synchronize action with the body's natural rhythms. Heart rate, breathing patterns, muscle tension, and neural activity all provide feedback about readiness, fatigue, and adaptability. By tuning into these signals, we learn not only how much to exert but when and in what manner. This is the essence of intelligent growth, working with the body's intelligence rather than against it. In contrast, relentless pushing often overrides these internal cues, producing strain, imbalance, and diminished returns. The mind, too, thrives under this attentive approach. Focused awareness enhances learning, memory, and emotional regulation by allowing the brain to consolidate experiences, extract patterns, and integrate insights in ways that blind effort cannot achieve. Philosophically, this approach challenges cultural narratives that equate effort with worth. Human beings have long been conditioned to believe that the harder we push, the more we are accomplishing, yet this assumption neglects the qualitative dimensions of growth. Progress is rarely measured solely in minutes spent or repetitions completed. It is reflected in subtle improvements, in increased resilience, clarity, and adaptability. Mindful engagement allows us to perceive these dimensions, noticing the incremental gains that accumulate beneath the surface, often invisible to external metrics but profoundly significant in the long term. It cultivates patience, humility, and a deeper connection with our own capacities, shifting the focus from compulsion to curiosity, from proving ourselves to understanding ourselves. There is also a psychological dimension to this practice. Relentless pushing often produces a sense of urgency and tension, a constant pressure that erodes enjoyment, creativity, and intrinsic motivation. In contrast, mindfulness fosters a sense of presence and attunement, allowing effort to be guided by both purpose and pleasure. The journey itself becomes as meaningful as the outcome, and growth becomes a holistic process encompassing not only performance but well-being, insight, and connection with the broader rhythms of life. By engaging with intention, we create conditions in which adaptation, learning, and creativity flourish naturally, rather than being forced through sheer determination. Ultimately, growth emerges as an interplay between action and awareness, between effort and reflection, between persistence and patience. The body and mind respond not to blind intensity but to thoughtful application, to repeated, intentional engagement with tasks that respect internal and external cues. By cultivating this balance, we move beyond the simplistic notion that trying harder is always better. Instead, we discover that true progress is a delicate dance, one that honors biology, psychology, and the lived experience of being human. It is a rhythm of attention, effort, and receptivity, a recognition that sustainable transformation arises not from relentless pushing but from listening, responding, and engaging fully with the present moment. If you found these insights helpful and want to continue learning practical, science-backed strategies to stay healthy, strong, and vibrant as you age, don't forget to like this video, share it with friends and family who could benefit, and subscribe to our channel for daily senior wellness tips, nutrition guidance, and simple lifestyle hacks designed to enhance longevity and quality of life. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video that can help you live healthier, happier, and more empowered every day.